So about 8 years ago, I went off to Cambridge and spent a little time at Harvard in the summer of 2007. It was beautiful. It was fun. Executive education is not intended to teach you a lot of new material. Instead, the purpose of executive education is to make you think about and question the things that you know and the things that you've learned. And executive education is supposed to give you concepts and tools to talk about and think about those things. When we studied negotiation, who here has taken a course in negotiation or had a class in negotiation or read a book about negotiation? You probably talked about terms like BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, or ZOPA, the zone of possible agreement, or concepts like log rolling, strategies like tit for tat, splitting the difference, all those kinds of colorful and interesting things. But the concept I want to talk about is more universal. It applies to those negotiating circumstances that are formal, but it also applies to all sorts of exchanges in everyday life. And I've been using this in all sorts of areas that I never thought it would apply. And this is what I really want you to know, and what I want you to leave here with and be able to think about. In an exchange, when you're bargaining, or just everyday sorts of transactions with people, if you're a parent, you've probably negotiated with your children endlessly over any number of things. When you're engaged in an exchange or a negotiation, there are really three things that you can do. Two of them are wrapped up in what's called the negotiation dilemma, and they're what I think of as the Tao of negotiating. And those two things are claiming value and creating value. Now, we claim value when we take something from the exchange or from the negotiation. I want this. But we create value when we come up with something new to bargain about or exchange, or we expand the dimensions of that exchange. You can think of claiming value as looking at a zero-sum game or a fixed pie, and thinking, how are we going to slice that pie up and share it? But by creating value, you try to make a bigger pie, or you try to add a little cake along with your pie. So I said there were three things, and I told you can claim value, and sometimes that's disparaged, but you have to claim value. Otherwise, the value created is of no use unless someone claims it and uses it. But there's a third thing that's going on, and we often do not consider this when we think about negotiations and bargaining, and that is there's a relationship that's occurring. Now, if it's a one-time, one-off transaction, the relationship might not be very important to you. Although I would argue most of us care about how we're perceived. We don't want to be that person who is considered to be rude, obnoxious, greedy, those types of things. But like negotiating with your children, there's an ongoing relationship. And you do things when you're bargaining and when you're exchanging, when you're negotiating to enhance the relationship. You give up something for nothing because you're going to want something in the future. And businesses call this goodwill. You develop goodwill by the little things. Everyone's probably been involved with paying a clerk for something and a double thank you occurs. You take the good or service that you received, the clerk takes the money, he or she says thank you, and you say thank you in return. That's sort of that free exchange, double thank you that occurs. The thank you is just adding goodwill to the creating and claiming of value that occurred. Let's take an example that most of us are pretty familiar with, Toastmasters. How do we claim value in Toastmasters as members? Ideas?
Give a speech.
You give a speech. And how does that claim value for yourself?
You learn to become a better speaker.
You have an opportunity to practice a speech. You have an opportunity to receive feedback, and so you enhance your speaking skills through that feedback. Practice makes perfect, maybe. but certainly practice is valuable. How else, as members, do we claim value in Toastmasters? Annette?
Choosing roles.
Choosing roles.
As-
So you get value when you choose a role. In what way?
It helps you become a better leader.
Helps you become a better leader. You get credit in your Competent Leader Manual. There's a reason why at the start of Toastmasters as president I mentioned those processes and things that are part of Toastmasters because I wanted to allude to them right here as concrete examples. So we claim value. How can we create value as members of Toastmasters? And how does a club create value for us? Or Toastmasters International create value for clubs? The manuals that Toastmasters International provides have value, right? Part of it is an exchange where we pay for them. There's a lot more information out there that's free that we don't pay for, that if it wasn't provided would be of less value. Other areas where we create value. If you volunteer to be a mentor, if you talk to a member after their speech and provide them with praise or a suggestion, if you provide information to people that they can take away from here and use, you're providing value, right? You're creating value and adding it to this relationship that we have. So how do we enhance relationships in Toastmasters?
Show up.
We show up. That's one of the most primary ways. We show up. We applaud. We show appreciation. When Carl's a Toastmaster, people jump up and take roles and support him in that so that he can be successful as Toastmaster. As I give a speech, Tatiana is preparing an evaluation for me. And she's going to go above and beyond just the minimal requirement that she stand up here for a few minutes and say something about what I did. And she's not going to give me some formulaic thing. She's putting real effort and adding real value. And she's also enhancing our relationship in the process. You can claim value, you can create value, you can enhance relationships. Once you start to look at your everyday exchanges with people in light of that particular concept, that structure, that mental model, then you can find even more opportunities to create value, claim value, and enhance your relationships. Think about it.